Hi, BookTube. I'm here with a weekly reads update. Yeah, I finished quite a few things actually, so let's start with those first. I finished The Arab of the Future. This is Volume 1, A Childhood in the Middle East, 1978 to 1984 by Riyad Sattouf. And it's interesting. um, his so basically, his father is I believe he's Syrian. Yeah, his father's Syrian and his mother's French, and they meet in France and they have this little blonde boy, and his father can't decide where he wants to live, so he goes between like France and Syria and oh, where else do they go? Um, Algeria, I want to say. Um, and he experiences, the different ways of life and the conflicts between, him and his family and, you know, his, parents being upset that he can't speak Arabic because they keep going back and forth between all these places. He's like, I speak French. Yeah, it's quite interesting to see where this story is going to go. I look forward to reading the other one. Um, and then I have The Gospel of Breaking. I just finished this last night, and this is a book of poetry, and I believe she's Caribbean, but she's also Canadian. Seems she spreads her time. That's the cat meowing at the door. She spreads her time between the two places, and yeah, I really like. There's a good variety in here. I'm not my own personal thing. I don't love poetry. I don't like, oh, I miss you, come back to me kind of poetry. I mean, there was a lot of that in here, but there were some really good ones. There's one about I think I actually have it tagged here. Yeah, okay. It's only a good ride if you can choose to get off, or to the people who would call Robin Williams a coward. And it's talking about Robin Williams' suicide. Um, where is this? Do you know what it is to think of the thing 100 times before coffee? To make the bed anyway? Have you designed the moment until every room you enter fills itself with sharp objects pointed in your direction? Um, there's serious ones like that. There's ones about, being black um, in white Canada and the racism. There's lots of poems about her mother. There's one where her mother faces a lot of depression, and she has to then take care of her mother. That one was really good. And then there's funny ones where she's I don't know if I saved it, but she's talking about the internet, and she's so excited. So she goes on Facebook, and it says Jillian is, and she's like, Jillian is writing, and she feels so good that she's now put that in the world that she's now writing. And then she gets a text from her friend saying, "Writting, WRITTING, is not a word." And she's just like the early days of the internet. And then there's this one that I'll just read it because I tagged it as especially poignant, I guess. What's been keeping you up at night? I do not need to tell you that you are enough. You already know that everything you are is all you need. Even though the weight of this world might sometimes bring you down to your knees, you must believe, you must believe. The poet Rumi once said, "What do you know of your yet undiscovered beauty? One of these days you will rise from within yourself like a sun." I offer you these words from my own heart, lips, and tongue. If you look around you and everything's burning, licked in flames upreaching like a funeral pyre, check if you are breathing. If you are, it stands to reason. Perhaps you're not the kindling, you're the fire. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I know these are library books. I'm just taking them, and then I'm gonna write down the quotes in another book, and then, um, take the tags out so I'm not wrecking library books. I also finished Sorrowland last night, and just like all I can say is wow. Like this is so enjoyably weird, and I don't think you should know a lot of it before going into it. It's about a woman escaping from a cult, and I wish I could just, if you've read this, like, I just want to talk about it so much. Like, it's such a beautiful, weird book. I read another quote before, but let's read one more recent here. How about this one? Maybe it was hard to give the world your best when the world was maybe it was hard to give the world your best when the world always gave you its worst. And she talks a lot about how hard it is to live in America. Like it's not that, you know, like life is more difficult than, you know, places of like third world countries and stuff like that, but like living with what America has done is hard when you become aware of that. Um, yeah, and it's not just America, Canada too. It's just, but like this book is really good. I'm definitely looking forward to picking up other stuff by River Solomon. I wish I could just say more about that book. It's just, but I think you should go in just knowing nothing and just being surprised at it. Okay, I'm also reading A Thinking Person's Guide to Islam still. I think I have. Oh, I'm on the what is G? No, what is Sharia? And that's a really long chapter. And then there's only 2 chapters after that, and then it's done. Um, yeah, it's just it's interesting. I'm learning a lot. Um, you know, I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I like how straightforward his approach is, and he always sums it up at the end. Like he always asks, let me find the end of a chapter here. What is worldly life? He says, why is it important to know all this? And he kind of like breaks it down. So it's very straightforward, very easy to understand. You know, there's some parts where he does go and he lists off a bunch of names and books and stuff like that, that, you know, if you don't know them, it's just like, why are you doing that? But I guess it's for more resources for people to go find, I guess. But listed in the middle of the text is kind of weird. Yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing that, and I can say I know a bit more about Islam. I'm also reading See No Stranger still. I have a hard time putting this one down at night. I go and I'm like, I'm only going to read 1 chapter, and I inevitably end up reading 2. And yeah, I only have like, I think I have like 100 pages left. Yeah, just over 100 pages left in this. It's feeding my soul. Like, this is so good. So what she does is how can I put it? She goes through and she describes different types of love and the different aspects of love. You know, like it begins with wonder. Like you start by wondering about people. Like even just something as simple as like, I wonder what that person had for supper last night. Because then suddenly, you know, they're human. They're somebody who you think of differently instead of just, you know, oh, that random person over there. Oh, they ate supper last night. Hopefully, you know. And then she talks about rage and how important that is to love, and to grieve and to fight, and how those are all different aspects of love, and, you know, about loving others and loving opponents, you know, your enemies, people who would seem your enemies. And that was a really interesting chapter or section, a whole section to read. It was 3 chapters about her coming to terms with, she was a victim of police brutality during a protest. She was arrested, and they did something to her arm that she like couldn't use it for months, and she had to think about that officer. And, you know, it's not condoning what they've done, but, you know, working through and loving them, seeing as someone worthy of love. And it's really, really good. I could have quoted this whole thing, but you know, she said, and she went to Guantanamo as a legal observer as well. She went through law school, and she says, you know, I closed my eyes and pictured Lieutenant Campo. This was the cop who had hurt her. This time I did not see a monster. I saw in his hardened face the cost of participating in oppression, the shrunken capacity to love. Yeah, like she feels bad that they can't love. Yeah, it's it's really good. It's making me think, you know, a lot more about relationships with people, even people you don't know. There's people you come into contact in your daily life. It's really, really good. And because my library books were due back, I kind of this week set aside Inspired in the Hounds of Harujan and Queens, The Secret History of the Mongol Queens. I'm still watching the Great Courses, and I'll work on those once I'm done. There's only 2. These next 2 books. And then I listened to one audiobook I finished, and that is Super Extra Grande by Yoss. He wrote another book called Planet for Rent that I also listened to an audiobook actually a few years ago, and it was really entertaining. And so this one is about a veterinarian for like super large um, alien creatures. It's a science fiction. Yeah, and he just it's just a very quick story. I think there's only 2 encounters with big animals, and one he has to like wade through their bowels, looking for a bracelet, and the other one he has to rescue people from like the world's biggest creatures. It was very sexist. um, he likes describing alien women. Um, he did kind of reform at the end, so it was I kind of like saw character development there, but like at the beginning he comes in strong with that sexism there. But yeah, it says it's kind of reformed. I mean, like he ends up being in a relationship with the women. Yeah, it's it's hard to explain. It is. I'm not doing a very good job of it. Yeah, he what happens is he hires these alien secretaries, and one of them falls in love with him, and he says, "Ooh, no, like I can't, you know, we're you're an alien. I don't want to be in a relationship with you." And so she runs off, and then there was another alien creature that also was fired by him, and then he has to rescue them from the biggest creature in all space, all the universe, and they end up in a polyamorous relationship at the end. So I don't know if you call that reformed or not. It was entertaining. It was only 4 hours, so yeah. And then I'm now listening to How High We Go in the Dark. I'm looking at my list here by Sequoia Negamatsu, and I should have looked more into this one. It's about a pandemic, but the pandemic is only affecting children. Yeah. And it's a series of short stories. I think that all interlinked. So I listened to the first 3. I just started the 4th one, and the first one is about this man's daughter. She's an adult. Um, Passes away in Siberia, so he goes to her lab, and um, that's where the virus starts, and it gets released there. And everyone gets sick there, but it seems to only be affecting children. It's weird. Um, the second chapter, maybe I am only on the 3rd chapter, or the second chapter is really forgettable. Anyways, the chapter I just finished, oh gosh, okay, they set up an amusement park that's known as a euthanasia park. Yeah, and they invite children who are going to die to come to the park, and they have a full day of fun, going on rides and doing things that you do at amusement parks. And this comedian is hired for it, and the last ride they go on kills them. It's supposed to be a very nice experience, but it's still euthanizing children. But like gets into the question of euthanasia and all that, because he follows a specific boy, on his health journey. Um, yeah, so that was interesting. Definitely. Um, yeah, so those are the books. I'm trying to think of anything else that I'm currently reading. I'm looking at my list. No, I don't think there's anything else that I'm currently reading. I can tell you right now that my goal to read less is not working. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books that I'm possibly going to finish, plus 1 chapter of the Portable Seminary. So I guess I'm making up for February and January not having read much. Yeah. Let me know what you're currently reading, and thank you for watching.